My name is Paul Perdue. I am a nerd. This is the March 2011. I've had trouble with this in the past. The March 2011 virtual user group meeting. This is the last in our series of 4 sessions dealing specifically with version 16. I am going to start with a little bit of preamble here by showing you what you can and cannot do in your control panel. Most of you have something that looks kind of like this on your screen. It may already be compressed if you know what you're doing, and it may even be compressed if you don't, but you click this button. This button here that looks like arrows pointing to the right will do just that. It will push this big box out of the way. When it's out of the way, you'll still have this little box, and these arrows will turn into an icon with arrows pointing to the left. Clicking it again will bring this big box into focus again. It'll bring it out of hiding, and you can type questions here. You would want to do that, of course, if you are shy and you have a question. If you are not shy and have a question, you would instead click this button here, which looks like a hand with an arrow in front of it pointing up, which means, wait for it, raising your hand. We will then, once we notice that you've got your hand raised and we have a good point to break, we will unmute you, let you ask your question, make sure that you get your question answered, and then we'll mute you up again so you can continue eating lunch. And without any further ado then, I'm going to minimize this, and we're going to talk about version 16. Today we're going to talk about what's happened in the Outlook integration, because that's huge. And we're also going to talk about some changes that have been made to the, and this is the last time I hope I'll say it, the CSV version, because it has been renamed the Platinum version, because most people don't know what CSV means and don't care. And Mary Jo's going to cover a lot of the little things that are neat but aren't separate topics. But I'm going to start right now by telling you about some sunset issues. In other words, things that are going away. If you are using the Palm conduits, do not upgrade to version 16 until you solve that problem, because the Palm conduits are no longer supported. If you are using email within PracticeMaster, it will no longer be supported. What that means is now if you click an icon to mail something, you will get your Outlook mail folder. And now if you tell it you want to forward a journal entry on an email that's been created through Outlook, it will recreate an email in Outlook to forward that email. It's kind of cool, but if you're using the internal email in PracticeMaster, it is going away. Starting with version 16, Windows 2000 will no longer be supported. We are, after all, in the year 2011, so 2000 is, what, 11 years ago. Starting with version 16, we will also no longer support calendar and email integration with Novell GroupWise. What that means is they won't be testing it, and I think it basically means you shouldn't be doing it. If anybody's out there that wants to try it, you're more than welcome. But the bottom line is Novell and Novell GroupWise will no longer be supported with version 16. And with that, I'm going to turn this over to Mary Jo, who's going to talk about some of the smaller changes that are cool.
Okay, hi everybody. I'm going to tell you about the little things that might not be huge bells and whistles out there with version 16, but that are still really cool, and that us end users here that use this software every day are going to think, oh, finally, yay, that's very cool. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to go into PracticeMaster, and I'm going to show you some features with the Dropbox. We now have, let me get in here, get Dropbox open down here. When we have the Dropbox down here and you would send things to it before, it was very limited on what you could do. But if we go into the Dropbox now, you'll see that there's a brand new toolbar that goes across here. We've now got the ability to open a file, we can save, we can print, we can email as an attachment, cut, copy, paste, trash it. You know, there's all these little features in the Dropbox now directly. So that's just a little convenient feature there. The next thing that I'm going to talk about, I'm not going to show you because we're running Platinum, so when we run our backups, we're running the hot backups. But for those of you that don't have Platinum and you go to make your backups or restore from a backup, what they have done is they have created faster backup times for firms that have email attachments in their journals. And if any of you are out there doing that, making a backup before, it took quite a while. So they have improved that time and also to restore. So that will help if you're backing up in the old system. Something else that we have done is in system configuration, we have added a few fields in both the firm and the user. So when we go into our firm information, you'll notice that now we actually have a place to put the firm email and the firm website. And what that will mean later is if you're using like Statement Designer or something where you want to input these fields and have those on that, instead of making a text box or something before like you used to, now those are available so that it can pull from this screen and put those fields in there. So that's added. Yes. Question?
There's a question here from Lori. Is the enhanced Dropbox capabilities also in version 16 of Tabs 3?
Yes, it's the Dropbox in all of the programs. So Tabs 3, PracticeMaster, AP, wherever you have the Dropbox, that toolbar is available.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt you. Who was that? Who was that person?
Oh.
Who is that?
Oh, Leanne. I'm sorry. That was Leanne. She's monitoring our questions for us. So.
Welcome, Leanne.
Okay. All right. So on user ID, now if you go in there when you're adding the user configuration, you can see we've got a new screen here. And we have also added the ability to put an individual phone number, fax. The email was there before, but now you can put an actual phone and fax number for each user. So that's available now as well. The other thing that I'm going to show you in PracticeMaster is when you are in adding a new client record. If I come under the client and I want to go ahead and add a new client, you'll notice we've got a new box here. We now have next available client ID, next available matter, or the specific client ID. So instead of trying to figure out if I'm in the client and then I can go ahead and add a new matter, I can just click New and I can say I want the next available matter or whatever I'm highlighted, or I can just assign a new client ID or the next available client ID. So that's, again, little thing, but when you're in there doing that every day, that really speeds things up. Let's get out of here. And then in Tab 3, we have a new client inactivity report. I'm going to show you that one here. Flip over here. Under our reports, we have a client report, and we now have the client inactivity report. And this is very cool because you can go in and you can actually say when you want the last activity to be, how long do you want that period of time to be. You can do days, you can do weeks, months, years, and then you can also tell it, well, I want to see whatever inactivity, when there's no activity in fees, costs, statements, what criteria do you want to select for that inactivity? So if there's been no payments in the last, 180 days, who are those clients? So it's just a very quick report that you can get very specific on things that you want to see an activity for.
Mary Jo?
Yes.
I have another question.
Yes, Leanne.
Well, this is from Kathy, and she'd like to know, is there a way to know who is opening up a new client?
Yes. I believe, I'm not sure if it's under here, but I'm going to talk a little bit about the improvements to our support log, and we can check and see if new client is in there.
I'm pretty sure that it is.
I am pretty sure it is too, but we'll look at the support log actually next, so we'll go there now. We have what we call, if you go under View, it should be under View, Log Files. We've got a support log, and if you're out there and you want to know some of the specific things that have been going on, you can select a date range, which users, features, things like that, and you can get very specific on what you want to see, who has logged off users, who has done final statements, all of those things. So you can check in here and see if that's one of the features if somebody has added a new client. I believe deleting a client I thought was in here, but
I think client file information covers it all, deleting and adding.
Yeah. So we can go in there, we can run that real quick, and I can show you. But what they've added to the support log is the ability to see write-off clients, reverse write-off, payment adjustments, transfer transactions, and those are all things that you didn't have access to see before. So you can see there's client file information. Whoever's changed the client file information, I think it's just generic. I don't know that it gets specific on.
And there's a delete.
Is there a delete in there? There you go. So somebody's changed, somebody's done something to that file. So you can come in there and run that report now to see that. So again, you can get specific. You can do all features. You can do it by user. So if you want to know if a specific user has done it, and then also a date range.
Mary Jo, I didn't see add in that report, so I'm going to go ahead and check that. And Kathy, I'll email you and let you know what we find.
Okay. The next thing is that on the TimeKeeper profitability report, before that was limited to only a manager being able to run that report. Now they have added a separate access right for that report so that you don't have to be a manager. You can actually specify that people can do that. So that TimeKeeper profitability report is now available to other people besides just the manager. Something else that we thought was really cool, when you come into PracticeMaster under our, let me get back to PracticeMaster. Where am I? Here we go. In the Quick Clicks, we now have the ability to create a client right from Quick Clicks on the contact file. So if I go over here to my contact file, and we talked about how in version 16, contacts and clients can be, there's a separate list, but they're all together on a list there. But if you come into your contact file, you can actually create a client from the contact file. Before in related parties, you couldn't do that. You were creating a related party, not a client. So now when you're in that contact file, I can click on Create a Client, and again, I get that box with the next available matter or specific client ID. So that makes things much quicker when you're in the contact file. The other thing that I want to show you in Quick Clicks, when you're in a journal record or a calendar record, a document management record, or an area of practice record, if I came in here and I created a journal record and then realized that I did it under the wrong client, what we used to have to do is, delete it and then go enter it under the correct client. Now in Quick Clicks, we have the ability of, I picked, of course, a client that doesn't have a journal record. Hold on a second. I don't know who has one, Paul. I'm like in a, let me find, he's going to get me somebody. There we go. Let me go into the journal record. Okay. If I wanted to change one of these and I go to my Quick Clicks, I actually have the ability now to change the client ID. So if, for example, this very first record here is not supposed to be under Purdue Law Offices, I can come in and I can change the client ID, and it will ask me, well, which client do you want to put it under? And I can move that journal record. And again, it's available in document management records, journal records, calendar, and area of practice records. So that makes things a lot easier to change and move. And the last thing that I'm going to talk about is in the calendar. And before, when we were in the calendar and you were going to assign a calendar record to a specific group of people, and we came in here to the all users, it was including the inactive users as well. But now when you click all users, it's only including the active users, and it excludes the inactive users. So that's kind of convenient there as well. And that's all I have, and I'm going to turn it over to Paul, and he's going to tell you some more.
Well, before I go into my two topics, I am going to talk about backing up in non-Platinum, non-CSV. Mary Jo mentioned it's faster now if you have a lot of email attachments. Another thing that's changed, there used to be a 2 gigabyte limit, and you could get those email attachments to push you way above that. Now what are called the ARC files, the ones that hold those email attachments, those are copied over separately and not included in the actual compressed backup. So now that 2 gigabyte limit still applies, but it excludes all the attachments. So if you were having trouble backing up before in a non-CSV environment, because of the size of your attachment files, that limitation has gone away. So I wanted to clarify that. I'm going to talk about Outlook synchronization. And I'm not really going to move the mouse and show you anything on the screen because I just want to describe how it works now. And it's not really something that you see. It happens. It happens when you do something. It doesn't really run anything. And for many of you that have been doing Outlook synchronization, that's different. And the reason it's different is because in the past we've had an automatic one-way sync between PracticeMaster and Outlook and a manual sync to get things back from Outlook, and that is now automatic also. So what that means is that now if you synchronize with Outlook, anything that you put in PracticeMaster has before will automatically go over to Outlook, and any changes that are made that we end up in Outlook, and I'll explain that in a second, will automatically come back into PracticeMaster. Now, the reason I say any changes that end up in Outlook is because Outlook for many of you is merely a stepping stone to get to a smartphone, an iPhone, an Android, a BlackBerry, whatever the case may be. And this is one of the primary reasons that those Palm conduits are being removed, other than the fact that not many people use trios anymore, but beyond that, most people that are using trios now are synchronizing them with Outlook. Most every smartphone that people are using are being synchronized with Outlook. So basically anything that goes out from PracticeMaster into Outlook and gets changed or gets added out there entirely will come back into PracticeMaster automatically. Now, they do that a number of ways. There is now something called a simple MAPI connection to Outlook. In non-nerd terms, what that means is PracticeMaster will listen repeatedly and constantly for a call from Outlook, if you will. That would be the simple MAPI, to say, hey, I've got something that's changed. And when PracticeMaster hears that, they say, okay, well, give it to me, and Outlook and PracticeMaster make an exchange and say, hey, we've got this new appointment, or we've got this phone number that's changed, or anything that's happening over there in Outlook, PracticeMaster is listening for. Now, occasionally, that will fail. And the other method that they've introduced for synchronization of Outlook and PracticeMaster is a periodic sync that takes place when you log into PracticeMaster and at a predetermined, predefined, or predefined, as I started to say, interval. So if you've got this predefined interval set to 60 minutes, then when you come into PracticeMaster for the first time, it will look for anything that needs to be synchronized between Outlook and PracticeMaster, and then it will wait 60 minutes and do that again. So if it is Microsoft and it is a computer, so those two things together mean that occasionally we're going to drop a simple MAPI connection, and we will have something that doesn't get over there. Now, what that also means is that gone are the days of having to rely on everyone having rights to everyone else in order for Paul to put something on Mary Jo and Leanne's calendar. If he doesn't have rights in Outlook, or should I say in Exchange, he can't do that. What would happen if you tried this is you'll get a message that says unable to synchronize with this person's calendar or this person's calendar, and that means that you don't have rights for PracticeMaster to push that through. Well, with the periodic sync, you don't need that anymore, because if it can't get through that way, then the periodic sync will pick it up. Now, even better than that is that if you happen to have Platnium, which is the new word for CSV, you have the ability to install something called the Exchange Connector. And what this does is it creates a very high-level connection between PracticeMaster and Exchange with administrative rights that nobody can actually use or see, but it's there for the two programs to talk to each other. So if I, Paul, who does not have any rights to Mary Jo and Leanne's calendars in Exchange, at least in this example, puts a calendar item in that involves me and Mary Jo and Leanne, the Exchange Connector, if I'm running Platnium with the Exchange Connector installed, it doesn't cost extra, you just have to set it up. If I'm running that scenario, even though I don't have rights to their calendars, those items will show up in their Outlook calendars instantly. Now, the rights issue is a great reason for the Exchange Connector to be something that you'd install in a Platnium environment. But there's another reason. If I'm a lawyer and I'm out in the field and I'm in court and the judge says, hey, can you guys all be here next Tuesday at 9? And everybody says yes, and I put it into my iPhone, if I'm not running the connector and my iPhone is synchronizing over the air to Exchange, which a lot of people are doing, That still won't make it into PracticeMaster until I load PracticeMaster. So if I'm in court and I'm not going to be back till this afternoon, and I've made an appointment with the judge for next Tuesday at 9 o'clock, and meanwhile my secretary makes an appointment for me with a client for next Tuesday at 9 o'clock, she's not going to see that appointment I put on my iPhone unless it gets in there using the Exchange connector. If we don't have the Exchange connector, then she won't see it, and nobody else will see it in PracticeMaster until I get back to the office. So what the Exchange connector does in this scenario is that it's taking care of the communication between the two programs, so there is no requirement, no restriction that I have to log into PracticeMaster for those synchronizations to take place. They just do. Okay? Now, some other things that are different about Platnium, or what we used to call CSV. We've already talked about the Exchange connector. There is a new feature in, are you going to interrupt me, Leanne?
I am.
I can tell.
There's a question here. Does version 16 support Exchange 2010?
Yes.
Thank you.
And who's asking that? Probably Dick. That sounds like a Dick question. Dick, if you'll type back in and let us know if you're running 64-bit or 32-bit, that'll be something I'll want to know in a second to further answer that question. Another thing that's new in the CSV version, I said it, the Platnium version, is the logout feature. If you've ever tried to make changes to PracticeMaster's file format, or add an index, or do anything else that requires exclusive access like updates, well, update statements doesn't, data file integrity check, file reorganization, anything that requires you kick everybody out. In the past, did he answer?
32-bit.
32-bit, okay.
But let's see. But Exchange 2010 is all 64-bit stuff.
That's fine.
Okay.
Well, he's probably planning on running. I think we're set with Outlook running in a 32 or a 64-bit. But Dick, I'm going to make a note, and I'm going to check that to make sure. I'm pretty sure we can run Outlook in 32 and 64-bit. But I'll make sure and email you back on that. So if you've ever tried to do any of these things in Tabs or PracticeMaster or AP or anywhere that require exclusive access, require getting everybody out, you know how hard that is. Until now, if you want to do this, you have to pretty much tell everybody by email a couple hours early, and then you remind them 15 minutes before, and then the time comes when you've asked them to get out, and guess what? Nobody else gets out. In version 16, there is a new log off feature that allows you to simply, and this is in Platnium, that allows you to simply issue a log out warning. It will send a message to all the users, and it will give a countdown based on the number of minutes you've told it you want to give them before it will log them out. This lets them know that A, they need to get out, B, why, C, how much time they've got to close things up, and when that time gets down to 0, PracticeMaster will log them out, or Tabs or AP or GL, whatever they're in, will log them out automatically and safely. So we no longer have any problems with data corruption. We no longer have any issues with trying to get people out and they didn't listen to you, and now you've got to run around to 30 stations for the people that didn't get out and log them out manually. We've no longer got an issue with forcing them out and then having open files left on the server because they didn't get out the right way and having to take care of that problem. All that's gone. Mary Jo and I did it the other day at a client's in Indianapolis, and it was a beautiful thing because at that particular client's we've got 70 stations, and usually half of them have to be logged out manually. Now, Mary Jo's just handed me something to say that version 16 integrates with both 64-bit and 32-bit versions of Office. I don't even know if Office 2010 runs in a 32-bit environment. But what this says is version 16 integrates with the 64-bit versions of Outlook 2010 and Office 2010. So, Dick, I'm crossing you off my list here because that's the answer to that. And Mary Jo, I need you to help me because I've got all these papers spread out in front of me. What are the other features of Platnium that are new in version 16 that I'm missing? I don't think there really is anything else, but I apparently have marked the wrong section because it talks just about Exchange. Of course, we did just talk about Exchange and the Exchange connector, which is in Platinum version 16. And what you get there is that always on, always available, over-the-air synchronization sort of scenario with Outlook and PracticeMaster in a Platinum environment. So with that, I'll ask, does anybody have any more questions? None? Should we tell a lawyer joke? I don't think I know any that I haven't told. Okay. The last thing I want to talk about then, while we wait and make sure nobody has any more questions, is when. Version 16 started shipping to new customers on Tuesday of last week. Now, any of you who've been with STI for any number of years, in other words, since the last major release, know that they do not like to overwhelm their support department. So the first thing they do is they release to new sales and let it sit out there for 2 or 3 months, and they make sure that they don't have any issues that they didn't pull out of the beta test. And this, by the way, was the largest beta test they've ever had with over 250 firms participating. And then they start to roll out, and they roll out slowly. So what that means is that in about 2 to 3 months, they will start shipping the first maintenance releases to people who are on maintenance. Now, the fact that you are on maintenance on Tuesday of last week is what determines whether or not you get it. So if your maintenance expired and for some unknown reason you're not going to renew it, because I'd strongly recommend everybody be on maintenance to get these updates, among other things, then you'll still qualify for it. They're currently planning to roll them out, I believe, 50 firms at a time on a weekly basis. I think the first one they'll actually wait 2 weeks for, and then they will adjust that number either up or down based on what they get in their support logs, and they will adjust the weekly basis up to a 2-week if necessary. So that gives you an idea. It's not going to start shipping to you for 2 to 3 months, and then it's going to be rolled out slowly.
Question, Paul.
Yes, Leanne?
Can you explain changes in AP and GL? I missed that last time.
Well, I can't because I'm not prepared to, and we're pretty much out of time. However, what I'll do is when we send out the emails to attendees this time, we will include all 4 sessions for the link to the recorded session. Now, just to summarize real quickly, Mary Jo's going to actually, she's got it.
I can summarize it very quickly. In AP, there's a new invoice check entry form. It looks more like a check. There's also the ability to choose which invoice or check is going to be included on a 1099. As far as general ledger, oh, and there's a new memo field on the check as well. The general ledger, there's some new integration with client funds that you can set up now between Tabs3 and GL. That's huge. There's an updated renumber account program. There is an improved journal entry session totals window. So there's just some, some basic things there, but some of those are huge, especially client funds. When you actually do a payment adjustment now, you can specify whether you want it to go to a different matter or to client funds, so you don't have to just refund it. So that's just a really quick overview, Lori. If you have more questions, we can, Paul's going to send you the link, but after you've heard that, if there's still more, you can contact us.
You can always email paul.purdue@attorneycomputersystems.com, Purdue like the chicken. No, I'm sorry, Purdue like the school, not the chicken. I can't believe I said that wrong. And Bill wanted to know if Baron's going to speak. Unfortunately, Baron Poindexter was not able to attend today and will not be speaking. And I think that does it. We have no more questions. So everybody have a good week and a good month, and we'll see you back here next month. Thanks much. Bye-bye.